Hello students. In this second video of the topic polymers, we will be considering and studying different type of polymers, their synthesis, properties and uses. For our simplicity, we are classifying all the polymers into several types. There are totally 6 sections we are going to study. First, the addition polymers. Second, polyamide polymers, which are also called nylon polymers, polyester polymers, formaldehyde polymers, different type of rubber and biodegradable polymers. Let us begin with the simplest of all types, the addition polymers. As the name suggests, addition, they will be obtained by addition polymerization of a single substance. So they will be also under the type homopolymer. The first under this list is the simplest polymer, polyethylene. Polyethylene has a simple structure like this: CH2 single bond CH2. As you have seen, the polymers are represented with either a square bracket or a round bracket and outside written a small n, indicating that this unit is repeated several times. There are two types of polythene which we come across. The first type is called low density polythene, LDP. To prepare this LDP, we need we need ethylene as a starting material. In presence of traces of oxygen and peroxide as a catalyst at 350 to 370 Kelvin and 1000 to 2000 atmosphere pressure, we get low density polythene. Low density polythene films are flexible and they are tough. They are chemically inert and they are moisture resistant also. Being covalent in nature, they are poor conductor of electricity. Polythene plastic is used in making pipes which are used in agriculture and irrigation. They are also used in insulation of electric cables which are usually submarine cables. They are also used in making household articles like squeeze bottles, attractive containers, etc. The second type of polythene is HDP, high density polythene. It is prepared in more or less similar way except the temperature and pressure condition. Also, a very important different catalyst is used here called Ziegler-Natta catalyst. What is a Ziegler-Natta catalyst? It is a combination of triethyl aluminium with titanium tetrachloride. Due to this catalyst, the pressure required is very low, 6 to 7 atmosphere only, and even temperature is not very high required. High density polythene is crystalline and much stiffer than low density polythene. It is having comparatively higher tensile strength and it is more resistant to chemicals than low density polythene. It is used in the manufacture of toys, buckets, dustbin and even laboratory ware which is of plastic. The second type of addition polymer is Teflon. The chemical name is polytetrafluoroethylene because the monomer used here or a starting material used here is tetrafluoroethene. As the name suggests, the structure is CF2 double bond CF2. The polymerization takes place in presence of peroxide catalyst. Tetrafluoroethylene is chemically very tough. It is even chemically quite inert and it's resistant to heat and attack of strong corrosive chemicals. All these things happen because carbon fluorine bond is very strong and it is unaffected by various alkali and organic solvents. Teflon is used in making non-stick cookware, oil and seal gaskets of machinery. The third addition polymer is polyacrylonitrile, abbreviated as PAN. The starting material for this polymer is acrylonitrile. Chemical name is vinyl cyanide. Vinyl is CH2 double bond CH. So the structure becomes vinyl cyanide CH2 double bond CH CN. Polymerization happens more or less similar to Teflon in presence of again peroxide. PAN resembles wool and it is used in making therefore artificial blankets. The trade name of PAN is Orlon or Acrylon. After taking the first addition polymers three examples, now let us go to the second type, that is polyamide polymers. Polyamide polymers contain a common functional group amide, which is CONH. They are collectively known with a name nylon. Let us begin with the study of three nylons 666 and 610. Our first member to study here is nylon 6. The starting material for nylon 6 is epsilon caprolactam. Now you can watch the structure of epsilon caprolactam. It is a seven-membered heterocyclic ring in which functional group CONH can be clearly seen. Total, if you count, in caprolactam ring there are 6 carbon atom and seventh member is nitrogen. When caprolactam is heated in liquid nitrogen atmosphere at a temperature of 533 to 543 Kelvin, it forms the polymer nylon 6. In the reaction we can see it is a ring opening polymerization taking place. It is given a term nylon 6 because the starting material contains 6 carbon atoms. Nylon 6 has high tensile strength and it's quite a lustrous fiber. It is used in the manufacture of tire cords and fabrics and even strong ropes. These are the ropes which you use in mountaineering or hiking purpose. The second member of polyamide family is nylon 66. Starting materials are adipic acid and hexamethylene diamine. Since there are two starting materials used, it is a copolymer. Let us see this little complex reaction. In the beginning, you can see the structure of adipic acid. Adipic acid has in the center CH2 four times and on both the sides two COOH groups. This is treated with hexamethylene diamine. Methylene is CH2 group, so it is 6 times, that's why called hexamethylene. Amine is NH2, so 2 times amine becomes diamine. In the first step, hydrogen atom of adipic acid gets transferred to the nitrogen atom. In the same way, the extreme end H also gets transferred to NH2. Now you can see the structure of the product. Now you can see the adipic acid has lost both the hydrogen atoms. It has become COO minus 2 times. On the other hand, NH2 group has acquired hydrogen ion, so it has become NH3 cation. This nylon salt, when heated further, produces nylon 66. This is given a title nylon 66 due to a simple reason that adipic acid and hexamethylene diamine, both molecules contain 6 carbon atoms each. Nylon 66 has a very high molecular mass. It has a very high tensile strength. It is a linear but condensation polymer. Nylon 66 does not absorb any water also. It is used in making sheets, bristles for toothbrush, surgical sutures, and textile fibers. The third member in the nylon family we study is nylon 610. The starting materials are sebacic acid and hexamethylene diamine. The synthesis is quite similar to nylon 6,6. Once again from here, sebacic acid and hexamethylene diamines functional group reacts to produce nylon 610. Also you can observe in the structure, in the center, there is amide linkage. Sebacic acid has 10 carbon atoms and hexamethylene diamine has 6 carbon atoms. Hence the title is 610. After completion of these polyamide fibers, we go for polyester polymers. We are going to study only one example under that, that's called terylene. Terylene is obtained from two starting materials, ethylene glycol and terephthalic acid. In certain variations, instead of terephthalic acid, dimethyl terephthalate has also been used. You can see now that ethylene glycol is getting treated with terephthalic acid. The reaction takes place in presence of zinc acetate and antimony oxide as catalysts. After loss of water molecules, a linear terylene fiber is obtained. Terylene polymer is also known with the name Dacron. The word terylene has been made from two words, TER from terephthalic acid and YLENE from ethylene glycol. Terylene has a very high melting point and it is resistant to chemicals as well as water. This makes to use wrinkle-free fabric from terylene, and it is usually made by blending it with cotton to form terrycot and with wool to form terrywool. Terrycot is a very popular fiber in making shirts in most of the countries. Its another derivative PET, polyethylene terephthalate, is used in making articles like bottles and jam containers, etc. This is a kind of a terry wool fiber, and these are the kind of bottles which we use. They are mostly from PET bottles. The next set of polymers we take is formaldehyde based polymers. We have to study three polymers under this. Let us begin with the first one, phenol formaldehyde polymer, also known as Novolac. As the name suggests, this is being obtained from phenol and formaldehyde. This has multi-step synthesis. Watch it very carefully. First, phenol is treated with formaldehyde. Now, formaldehyde is HCHO, but when we are writing it, we deliberately write it as CH2. Now, this CH2O gets treated with phenol either at ortho position or ortho para position or position numbers 2, 4, 6. When we consider only ortho product and polymerize it, we get a linear polymer called Novolac. Look at the two steps we are using. In the first step, the formation of ortho and or para hydroxy methyl phenol is obtained. In the second step, the rings get joined each other with the CH2 group in between. This Novolac is used in paints. The second type of polymer is bakelite. This is also obtained from phenol and formaldehyde. Now if you see, the first step of the synthesis is same as Novolac. Phenol and formaldehyde first produce either orthohydroxymethyl phenol or parahydroxymethyl phenol. Further, they undergo polymerization to form Novolac. This Novolac upon further polymerization creates a cross-linked thermosetting polymer called bakelite. Bakelite you can see has linkages of CH2 in the horizontal chain and even the chains vertically are connected with CH2 groups. Bakelite is an infusible and insoluble polymer. Infusible, that means it cannot melt easily. It has a tremendously high tensile strength and it was used as a great substitute for glass. It is a thermosetting polymer. That means we can give the shape of the polymer only when it is manufactured. It has several uses. It is used in the manufacture of telephones, used in the manufacture of kitchen utensils like handles of the fry pans and all, electrical switches, combs, and even old world's phonograph records. The third polymer is melamine formaldehyde resin. Starting materials, as you can see, are melamine and formaldehyde. First, formaldehyde molecule gets added to the melamine's 1NH2 group. This monomer further undergoes polymerization to form melamine formaldehyde resin. These are quite heat and moisture resistant and they are durable. They are making in a decorative tabletops which we call as formica or used in the making of plastic dinnerware or crockeries. We go to the fifth type of the polymer set, that is different sorts of rubber. Under this we first study the natural rubber. Natural rubber is obtained, as you know, from rubber tree from its latex. The basic material in natural rubber is isoprene. The IUPAC name is 2-methyl-buta-1,3-diene. You can watch the structure. It's a straight chain of butane, 4 carbon atoms. At first and third carbon there are double bonds. On the second carbon there is a methyl group. Natural rubber is a high molecular mass linear polymer and you can see the structure of the natural polymer. Compare it with the structure of isoprene. The first CH2 is as it is, CCH3, CHCH2. The only difference you can see in this structure is the double bond has shifted from first and third position between second and third carbon atom. The value of N here is quite large. It's around 10,000 units and the molar mass ranges from 1,30,000 unit to 3,40,000. The number goes from 2,000 to 5,000. Highest discovered is around 10,000. In natural rubber, the isoprene polymer chain has a cis configuration and the chains are held together by weak van der Waals forces and it has a coiled structure. This structure can be stretched, that's why natural rubber has elastic property. Let us see this particular structure one more in a different angle. This is a long chain of polyisoprene. Focus your attention on one of the chains of polymer. Now you can see that I am marking the chain here. The portion is connected to one of the bond on the left hand side of double bond and on the similar side there is another bond connected. As you can see, both the bonds are on the same side of the double bond. The natural rubber is in cis format. Natural rubber further undergoes a process called vulcanization. Let us study about the process of vulcanization. Charles Goodyear accidentally discovered this process of vulcanization, which later on was found that it increases the tensile strength of rubber. In this process of the network of cross-link is introduced in the elastomers and it enhances the properties like stiffness, toughness, tensile strength, etc. Vulcanization is usually carried out using sulfur and when sulfur linkages are introduced between natural rubber units, it's called sulfur vulcanization. Natural rubber is converted into more tensile rubber which can be later on used in tires, tubes, rubber hose, etc. The process of vulcanization is carried out by heating raw natural rubber with sulfur powder in presence of accelerators at 150 degrees Celsius. The most common accelerator in vulcanization is zinc butyl xanthate. Depending on the percent of sulfur added, properties of rubber can change. When rubber contains 40 to 45% of sulfur, the rubber converts into a very hard material called ebonite. Perhaps you have heard ebonite with respect to static electricity experiments. With 3 to 10% sulfur, rubber is used in making tires. And with least amount of vulcanization, 1 to 3%, the rubber bands are obtained. You can see now how vulcanized rubber look like. You see, in the first diagram, the double bond has been displaced and shifted to single bonds of sulfur. In another type of vulcanization, it is not getting added at the second and third carbon, but between the first carbon atoms. Charles Goodyear, who discovered the rubber process of vulcanization process of rubber. I am discussing here a second type of rubber, which is actually not a kind of rubber, but it has lot of similarity. Gutta percha is obtained also from isoprene monomer. Isoprene can produce two substances in nature. One is the natural rubber and second is gutta percha. Natural rubber is the cis isomer of polyisoprene while trans isoprene is gutta percha. Let us see the comparison. Here you can see the natural rubbers, both the side chains are on the same side cis isomer. While in gutta percha you can see one is shown downward and second is shown upward. This indicates the trans isomer. We will not be studying gutta percha in further details. We now come across synthetic rubbers. The first is neoprene rubber. Neoprene rubber is obtained from chloroprene. The name is IUPAC name is 2-chloro-buta-1,3-diene, and you can see a simple structure of chloroprene. Chloroprene on further condensation polymerization in presence of oxygen as catalyst produces neoprene rubber. If you see, neoprene is quite similar in structure to natural rubber. The only difference is here we have a chlorine atom and there we have a CH3 group. Here the vulcanization also is possible, but instead of sulfur, the vulcanization takes place in presence of magnesium oxide. Neoprene rubber is again resistant to petroleum, vegetable oils, light and heat. Neoprene is used in making hose pipes for the transfer of gasoline, in making gaskets, insulator cables, jackets, and different belts like power transmission and conveyor belts. The third rubber we are going to study is called Buna N rubber. The starting materials are buta-1,3-diene and acrylonitrile. The catalyst used is peroxide. Watch the reaction quickly. It's buta-1,3-diene reacting with vinyl cyanide, that is acrylonitrile. The shifting of bonds is similar to the natural rubber and double bond comes in the center. Joining two chains we get Buna N structure. Buna N is used in making oil seals, manufacture of hose pipes, tank linings, etc. The fourth rubber we study is Buna S rubber. This is obtained from 75% buta-1,3-diene and 25% styrene. The catalyst used is peroxide. You can see now the structure of buta-1,3-diene and styrene is nothing but vinyl benzene. Once again, similar shifting of double bonds happens to form Buna S rubber. This has high mechanical strength and it is abrasion resistance. It is also used in making different types of tires. We have completed now 5 different classes of polymers. We come to the last section of polymers called biodegradable polymers. We will study three biodegradable polymers here. The first is called PHBV. The starting material is 3-hydroxybutanoic acid and 3-hydroxypentanoic acid. Name where we write PHBV is poly beta hydroxybutyrate copolymer with beta hydroxyvalerate. The abbreviation is made as P, H, B and V. In the synthesis we can see first 3-hydroxybutanoic acid treated with 3-hydroxypentanoic acid. We form a kind of a ester linkage here in between COO, and that is PHBV polymer. The second type is known as nylon 2 nylon 6. Once again the word nylon has come because it is going to be a polyamide polymer. It is made from glycine and epsilon aminocaproic acid. You can see the structures. Glycine is NH2CH2COOH. Epsilon aminocaproic acid is containing totally 6 carbon atoms. In the center once again we can see the amide linkage. It is named nylon because of the reason it is a polyamide fiber. Glycine contains 2 carbon atoms, that's why nylon 2, and aminocaproic acid contains 6 carbon atoms, that's why nylon 6. This is deliberately not numbered as nylon 2,6. The reason is this polymer comes under the type of biodegradable, while nylon 6, 66 and 610 come under the class of degradable non-biodegradable polymers. The third example under this is called dextron. Starting materials are glycolic acid and lactic acid. You can see a synthesis of this. The first compound is lactic acid, the second is glycolic acid. Once again they produce a ester linkage, so it is once again biodegradable polyester fiber called dextron. We take up now a synthesis of a chemical called viscose rayon. This is an example of a regenerated fiber. Regenerated fibers are obtained from natural material. In this case, it is obtained from cellulose. This is a linear polymer with glucose molecules as a base unit. There are multiple steps in this synthesis. First, cellulose is treated with sodium hydroxide to get alkali cellulose. Now, as we know, cellulose has a little complex structure. So we are representing it with a simple structure, CellOH. It is then converted into a chemical called xanthate using carbon disulfide in second step. On mixing this xanthate with dilute NaOH, we get viscose rayon solution. This is then passed through spinnerets of a spinning machine into an acid bath, and we form viscose rayon fibers. Let us imagine this with better example and structures. Here you can see the steps which I described. First, cellulose is treated with NaOH to form CelO minus Na plus. This alkali salt is treated with CS2 to form the xanthate. This xanthate is treated with sulfuric acid, that means it's undergoing hydrolysis to form a better quality cellulose, that is rayon. These steps in the industry look somewhat like this. In this diagram you can see from the top, pulp of cellulose and NaOH enters in a machine called steeper. After mixing, they are converted and further sent for xanthation. In xanthation chamber, you can see carbon disulfide comes. Once again, when sodium hydroxide is done, and you can see the spinneret machine down in the spinner, which finally gives us viscose rayon. We have completed all the types of polymers. We come to the last theoretical section of this called molecular masses of polymers. Polymer usually, as you know, is a very complex mixture of molecules of different molecular masses. Hence, finding actual molecular mass is practically not possible. What we find is an average of the constituent molecules. There are two ways in which we can represent this. First is number average method, MN, and second is mass or weight average method. It is calculated by these equations. Number average formula is summation MINI upon summation NI, and weight average method is summation MI square NI upon summation MINI. Let me explain this with an example. Imagine we have in a mixture of polymers 9 gram of molecular weight 30,000 and 5 gram sample of 50,000 unit. So what is the number average of this? It's going to be 9 plus 5 upon 9 upon 30,000 plus 5 upon 30,000. This is how number average and weight average can be found out. Molecular masses of polymers can also be found from degree of polymerization. The number of repeating units in a polymer is called degree of polymerization. Using this number of degree of polymerization, molecular mass of polymer can also be found more easily. If I give a symbol dP to degree of polymerization, small m for molecular mass of monomer and capital M for the molecular mass of polymer, then molecular mass of polymer is given as multiplication of degree of polymerization and molecular mass of monomer. This completes our entire topic of polymers.